In the midst of a blizzard in Montana's crazy mountains, a pair of boots was found lying alone beside a smoldering campfire. All around 18 inches of snow blanketed the ground, but not a single footprint led to or from the spot. Aaron Hedges, a seasoned hunter, who knew these woods like the back of his hand, had vanished as if he'd never existed. No scream, no trace, no explanation. Just the boots, standing as a challenge to anyone daring to seek the truth. This isn't an isolated story. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of people have disappeared without a trace in the national parks of North America, from the dense forests of Glacier National Park to the rugged canyons of the Grand Canyon. And the strangest part, no one, not the police, not search dogs, not even massive search operations, can figure out where they went. A mystery lurks in these woods, and it may involve something far beyond our imagination. UFOs, Bigfoot, or even portals to another world. Welcome to the world of Missing 411, in a series of baffling disappearances documented by David Paulides, a former police officer on a mission to uncover truths no one else dares to touch. From the late 19th century to today, ordinary people hunters, children tour guides have vanished without a trace in parks like Glacier Yosemite and Mesa Verde. These places aren't just havens of natural beauty with sprawling forests, towering mountains, and shimmering rivers. They're also home to dark secrets, where the silence of the woods can send chills down your spine, and where Native American legends of Bigfoot and UFOs are more than campfire tales. In Glacier National Park, Montana, where 68 disappearances have been recorded from 1896 to 2014, locals say there are areas even animals avoid. In the crazy mountains where Aaron Hedges disappeared, sudden blizzards can erase all traces in hours. And in the Grand Canyon where Morgan Heimer vanished, the deep chasms seem to hide a secret that will never be revealed. Meet Aaron Hedges, a rugged man, a veteran hunter who could survive the harshest conditions. He wasn't the type to get lost. On September 7th, 2014, Aaron and two friends were bow hunting in the crazy mountains, a treacherous wilderness in Montana. He carried a radio, knew every trail, and had stashed supplies at secret spots in the woods. But when he radioed his friends to say he was heading to Sunlight Lake to grab gear and promised to return, that was the last they heard from him. Days later, searchers found his boots, water bladder, and filter beside a campfire, but no footprints in the thick snow. Aaron, who had faced bears and wolves, was gone without explanation. What happened to him? Did he encounter something or someone not of this world? Then there's Jared Atadero, a 3-year-old boy with an innocent smile and boundless curiosity. In 1999 in Colorado, Jared was hiking with a group of adults on the Big South Trail. When he asked two fishermen nearby, "Are there bears here?" they laughed and told him to scram. Minutes later, Jared was gone. No cry, no trace. 4 years later, searchers found his skull fragment and clothes at 750 feet above the trail, a place no toddler could reach. Even stranger, his clothes had no blood, no tears, as if he'd never been attacked. Jared's father, Alan, still lives with unrelenting grief, wondering what stole his little boy. And then there's Morgan Heimer, a 22-year-old tour guide and University of Wyoming student who vanished in 2015 in the Grand Canyon. Morgan was leading a group of 30 along a creek wearing a life vest just steps behind his team. But when the group returned to their boats, Morgan was gone. No one heard a sound. No one saw him fall. The area was searched for weeks, but no trace of Morgan was found. How could a young, healthy, experienced man vanish in broad daylight, right in front of dozens of people? David Paulides, the man behind Missing 411, isn't a sensationalist. He's a former cop with over 20 years in SWAT, trained to follow evidence. When park rangers first told him about strange disappearances, he couldn't let it go. He filed Freedom of Information Act FOIA requests to get a list of missing persons from the National Park Service NPS. The response shocked him. The NPS claimed they kept no such list, and if he wanted one, he'd have to pay $1.4 million for them to compile it. This refusal only fueled his determination. He's written 11 missing 411 books, produced documentaries like Missing 411, The UFO Connection, and interviewed hundreds of witnesses from hunters and Native Americans to scientists like John Brandenburg, who studies portals for NASA. Paulides doesn't rush to conclusions, but he believes something, perhaps UFOs, Bigfoot, or a larger force is behind these vanishings. The backdrop of these disappearances isn't just forests or mountains. It's a world where native legends come alive. The Yurok of California's Hoopa Reservation speak of Indian devils, hairy, intelligent beings they believe came from the stars. They insist Bigfoot isn't an animal, but a type of human with its own language and burial rituals. In Idaho, hunters reported a massive UFO hovering above the trees near where a teammate vanished. In Washington, workers saw an elk lifted into the sky by an object with no ropes or sound. And in Montana, places like Glacier National Park aren't just known for their beauty, but for stories of vanishings without answers. What makes these places hotspots for mystery? Are they crossroads between our world and another? One eerie detail keeps resurfacing. Many victims, especially hunters and physicists, are of German descent. Paulides noticed this after studying thousands of cases. In one Montana area, every missing hunter was German, a coincidence that's almost impossible. Missing physicists, too, were all German raising. The question is something targeting specific people, and why some victims like Jared left clothes without blood. Others like Aaron vanished in blizzards without footprints. And some like Dale were heard crying for help, but never found until their bodies appeared in searched areas. These details aren't just strange. They're chilling, as if an invisible hand is erasing all evidence. So what's happening in these woods? Are UFOs abducting people, as the 90-year-old hunter claimed, describing being taken aboard a ship with frozen elk? Or is Bigfoot, as the Yurok believe, a superhuman entity watching us? Perhaps, as Brandenburg suggests, portals are swallowing people into another dimension. And why is the NPS so uncooperative, as if we're hiding a bigger secret? I can't help but think there's a force supernatural or human manipulating things from the shadows. These disappearances aren't random. They have a pattern, a meaning we haven't yet grasped. But to truly understand why Aaron, Jared Morgan, and hundreds of others vanished, we need to go back to their final moments, the seconds when they stepped into the woods and never returned. The clues they left, however small, may hold the key to the truth. And in those clues lie strange, chilling details waiting to be uncovered. After the final moments of Aaron Hedges, Jared Atadero, and Morgan Heimer, as they stepped into deep forests or rugged canyons, the story shifts to a greater mystery. How did they vanish, and what eerie clues were left behind? In the vast national parks of North America, from Montana's crazy mountains to Arizona's Grand Canyon, hundreds of people have disappeared without a trace, without a sound, as if erased from the earth. No screams, no footprints, no scents for search dogs to follow. What remains, a pair of boots by a campfire, bloodless clothes, or a cry for help in the wind, only deepens the fog surrounding these cases. Let's dive into their last moments, the chilling clues found, and the bizarre details that leave even seasoned investigators shaken. Start with Aaron Hedges, a veteran hunter who vanished on September 7, 2014, in Montana's Crazy Mountains, a rugged wilderness of granite peaks and dense pine forests. Aaron wasn't someone who got lost easily. He knew every trail, every ravine, and had stashed supplies at secret spots in the woods. That day, he and two friends were bow hunting, using mules to carry gear. but something spooked the mules, sending them scattering and costing Aaron some supplies. Undeterred, he radioed his friends, saying he was heading to Sunlight Lake a few miles away to grab sleeping bags and food. "I'll be back soon," he said. That was the last time Aaron's voice crackled over the radio. The next day, his friends grew worried when he didn't return. They figured he might be tracking an elk, as Aaron was the type to hunt alone. But by day 2, then 3, his silence became unsettling. They left the woods, contacted the Park County Sheriff, and a massive search was launched. Teams from Park and Sweetgrass counties entered the crazy mountains from east and west, hoping to find Aaron alive or dead. What they found stunned them. In an area miles from Aaron's starting point beside a burned-out campfire, they discovered his boots, water bladder, and filter. Around it, 18 inches of snow covered the ground, but not a single footprint led to or from the site. No signs of a struggle, no blood, no clues about where Aaron went. The Sweetgrass County Sheriff leading the search told David Paulides, "We were sure his body was within 100 yards. With that much snow, he couldn't have gone far barefoot. They were wrong. Aaron Hedges was nowhere to be found. He had vanished as if swallowed by the blizzard itself." Next, consider Jared Atadero, a 3-year-old with bright eyes and endless curiosity. In 1999 in Colorado, Jared was hiking with a group of adults on the Big South Trail near Poodrahead Trailhead. The group, including Jared's relatives, was on a day trip near a fish hatchery. As they walked, Jared strayed ahead a few steps. He stopped by the Poudre River, where 2 men were fishing, and asked innocently, "Are there bears here?" Instead of keeping him close or asking where his adults were, the fisherman laughed and told him to move along, saying he was scaring the fish. Minutes later, when the adults realized Jared was gone, they began calling his name. No response, no cry, no sign of where he went. An urgent search began with hundreds of volunteers, search dogs, and helicopters. But Jared was gone. 4 years later, in 2003, a horrifying discovery came to light. At 750 feet above the trail, a place no 3-year-old could climb, searchers found Jared's skull fragment pants and shirt. But what chilled everyone was the condition of the clothes. Jared's pants were turned inside out, as if removed in an odd way. His shirt was nearly intact with no tears. Most crucially, there wasn't a drop of blood, no sign of an animal attack. Mountain lion experts, often suspected in child disappearances, said a lion couldn't leave clothes like that. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation analyzed the clothing, but found no clues to explain Jared's death. Where was he for those 4 years? Who or what took him to that height? And why were his clothes left like an unsolvable puzzle? Then there's Morgan Heimer, a 22-year-old tour guide and University of Wyoming student who vanished in 2015 in the Grand Canyon, one of the world's natural wonders, but also a deadly maze. Morgan was leading a group of 30 on a multi-day expedition along the Colorado River, walking along a shallow creek. Wearing a life vest, he brought up the rear, ensuring no one fell behind. The creek was ankle-deep in places, flanked by sheer cliffs with no escape routes. When the group returned to their boats, less than a quarter mile away, they realized Morgan was gone. No one heard a fall, a cry, or anything unusual. A group member later contacting Paulides said there was nowhere for Morgan to go. If he fell in the creek, we'd have seen him. If he climbed the cliffs, no way he did it unnoticed. The search lasted weeks, with NPS volunteers and the tour group scouring the area. But Morgan had vanished, as if erased from the earth. Finally, look at Dale Stallings' case in Mesa Verde National Park, Colorado. Dale, a middle-aged man, was with his family when their car broke down. While waiting for repairs, he decided to take a short walk to see an ancient village nearby, a popular tourist spot, not particularly wild or dangerous. "I'll be back in a bit," he told his wife. But Dale never returned. The next day, a massive search began with NPS and volunteers involved. A local reporter hiking in the park heard cries for help. "Save me. I'm over here." She ran to the NPS office, reported the location, and the search team rushed to the area. Strangely, the day before, another ranger had heard similar cries in the same spot, but found nothing. The team, with 30 people and dogs, searched for hours, but found no trace of Dale. Years later, his body was found right in that same area, under a tree, as if it had just appeared. The clues left behind in these cases aren't just strange. They're chillingly eerie. In Aaron's case, boots and gear were found by a campfire, but no footprints in thick snow, a physical impossibility if he walked away. In Jared's case, clothes without blood or tears were found at a height he couldn't reach. In Morgan's case, his daytime disappearance in front of dozens defied logic. And in Dale's case, cries for help were heard, but he wasn't found until his body appeared in a searched area. These patterns repeat across hundreds of cases. Paulides documented neatly folded clothes, abandoned shoes, bodies in previously searched zones, and a complete lack of tracks. But one detail haunts me: the silence of the forest. In many cases, just before disappearance, the woods go eerily quiet. No birds, no insects, no wind. Paulides experienced this himself while hiking in Northern California. We stopped, looked at each other, and realized there's no sound at all. It was like the forest was holding its breath. Witnesses provide accounts that make your skin crawl. In Idaho, hunters reported a massive UFO hovering above the trees just before a teammate vanished. One, frozen under its eerie glow, shouted for his friends. By the time they emerged, the UFO and her friend were gone. Just 9 miles away, another disappearance, Dior Kuntz, had occurred earlier. And 14 miles north, a hunter missing for 53 years was found in a searched area. This can't be coincidence. In Washington, workers on a hillside saw an elk lifted into the sky by a silent, ropeless object in a chronic wasting disease CWD-affected area. And in Wyoming, a 90-year-old hunter shared an unbelievable story. Abducted by a UFO in the 1970s, he saw 3 frozen elk on a ship, was given a vitamin packet, and woke up rolling down a hill with his tuberculosis scars gone. The bullet he fired, which fell after hitting an invisible barrier, was later confirmed by Wyoming criminalistics to have struck something never seen before. These accounts, though hard to believe, share a thread. They point to a force beyond our understanding. So what happened to Aaron Jared Morgan and Dale? 3 initial theories emerge. First, UFOs might be behind these vanishings. Accounts of UFOs in Idaho, Washington, and Wyoming, plus ties to CWD areas, suggest extraterrestrials could be abducting humans and animals for study. But why target specific people, and why are some returned while others never a second Bigfoot? Though Paulides denies they directly caused disappearances could be involved. Native Americans believe Bigfoot is human-like, capable of hiding. If they don't kill, what role do they play? Third, a serial killer in the woods could explain sudden vanishings. But the lack of blood tracks or screams, especially with armed victims like Aaron, makes this shaky. Each theory has strengths, but leaves gaps, deepening the mystery. These clues, boots, clothes, cries, and forest silence, aren't just puzzle pieces. They're whispers from a world we don't understand. To find answers, we must look at the investigations from NPS's failed searches to hidden testimonies and the FBI's mysterious involvement. And in those efforts, a bigger question looms. Who or what is keeping this secret in the shadows? The eerie clues. Aaron Hedges' boots by a traceless campfire. Jared Atadero's bloodless clothes, Dale Stallings' desperate cries have led us to an unsolvable mystery in North America's deep woods. But as search teams combed mountains and creeks and families waited in despair, a bigger question emerged. Why can't anyone find them? More crucially, why do those holding the keys, from park rangers to federal agencies, seem intent on hiding the truth? In this part, we'll dive into the dead-end investigations, chilling witness testimonies, and theories that make even skeptics pause. Are UFOs Bigfoot, or a deeper conspiracy behind these vanishings? And why, after decades, are we still without answers? David Paulides, a former cop with over 20 years in SWAT, isn't easily swayed by wild tales. But when two park rangers knocked on his door years ago sharing stories of strange vanishings no one dared discuss, he knew he'd stumbled onto a dark secret. "They told me something very unusual was happening," Paulides recalled. "After 7 to 10 days of intense searches, everything goes quiet. No reports, no updates like these. People never existed." Those words launched Paulides on a relentless investigation, leading him to thousands of cases in parks like Glacier Yosemite and Mesa Verde. But what he found wasn't clear answers. It was a wall of silence from those who should have helped the National Park Service NPS. Paulides filed FOIA requests to get a list of missing persons from the NPS. The response stunned him. They claimed no such list existed, and if he wanted one, he'd need to pay $1.4 million for them to compile it. $1.4 million for a list any police department would have on hand, Paulides wondered. This wasn't just a bureaucratic hurdle. It felt like a warning, a sign something was being hidden. But Paulides didn't stop. He gathered data himself, interviewing witnesses, victims' families, and even scientists like Dr. John Brandenburg, who studies portals for NASA. He wrote 11 Missing 411 books, produced documentaries like Missing 411, The UFO Connection, and became a rare voice challenging the NPS's silence. Searches for people like Aaron Hedges, Jared Atadero, Morgan Heimer, and Dale Stalling were massive but eerily similar. They yielded almost nothing. For Aaron Hedges, missing September 7, 2014, in Montana's Crazy Mountains Park, and Sweetgrass County sheriffs deployed National Guard helicopters, search dogs, and FLIR infrared. They were certain Aaron, with his boots left behind in 18 inches of snow, couldn't have gone far. But after 2 weeks, they found no tracks, no scent, no body. Search dogs trained to track humans in any condition stood still as if there was nothing to follow. The Sweetgrass sheriff told Paulides, "We've never seen anything like this. There's no way to explain it." Jared Atadero's case, the 3-year-old lost in Colorado in 1999, was no better. Hundreds of volunteers, dogs, and helicopters scoured the Big South Trail for days. But no trace of Jared, no clothes, no tracks, nothing. 4 years later, when his skull and clothes were found 750 feet up, investigators faced a new puzzle. No blood, no tears, and a location too steep for a toddler to reach. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation analyzed the clothes, but found no signs of animal or human attack. If it was a mountain lion, the clothes would be shredded, an expert told Paulides. If it was human, where's the blood? Morgan Heimer, the 22-year-old guide lost in the Grand Canyon in 2015, baffled the NPS. The weeks-long search involved volunteers and his tour group combing every inch of the creek where he vanished. They checked the sheer cliffs around it. Nothing. No life vest, no tracks, no sign he fell or climbed. A group member told Paulides, "We were steps away from him. There's no way he vanished without a sound." And for Dale Stalling in Mesa Verde, a 30-person team with dogs searched the area where he was heard crying for help, not once but twice by 2 witnesses on separate days. They found nothing. Years later, when his body appeared under a tree in that same area, investigators were speechless. "We walked that spot dozens of times," an NPS ranger said. How was he there? These clues, or lack thereof, aren't the only thing stumping investigators. Witnesses from hunters to Native Americans to rangers shared accounts that chilled the blood. In Idaho, hunters saw a massive UFO above the trees just before a teammate vanished. One, frozen under its glow, yelled for his friends. By the time they emerged, the UFO and their friend were gone. 9 miles away, Dior Kuntz had disappeared earlier. 14 miles north, a hunter missing for 53 years was found in a searched area. This isn't chance. In Washington, hillside workers saw an elk lifted by a silent, ropeless object in a CWD-affected zone. MUFON investigated and concluded the elk was found far from where it vanished. Paulides wondered, are UFOs monitoring our environment, sampling animals and humans? And in Wyoming, a 90-year-old hunter told a story that shocked even Paulides. Abducted by a UFO in the 1970s, he saw 3 frozen elk on a ship, was tossed a vitamin packet, and woke up rolling down a hill, his tuberculosis scars gone. The bullet he fired, which fell after hitting an invisible barrier, was confirmed by Wyoming criminalistics to have struck something never seen. These tales, though incredible, aren't isolated. The Yurok of California's Hoopa Reservation speak of Indian devils, hairy, intelligent beings from the stars. They believe Bigfoot isn't an animal, but a human-like entity with its own language and burial rituals. An elder told Paulides, they're a different tribe from where we came. Bigfoot DNA analyzed by Dr. Melba Ketchum shows they're modern humans with an untraceable male origin. Could Bigfoot be linked to these vanishings? Paulides denies they directly caused them, but doesn't rule out their knowledge of something we don't. Authorities from NPS to FBI seem determined to keep the truth buried. In Canada, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police RCMP treat UFO reports seriously, sending classified reports to Ottawa. But in the US, UFOs are dismissed as jokes, and rangers are told not to document UFO or Bigfoot sightings. One NPS employee told Paulides he was ordered, "Don't write about it," after seeing a hairy creature. In another case tied to the 1967 Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot film, the FBI visited the camera rental shop, but later denied any involvement, despite Paulides' 60-plus FOIA requests. Why did the FBI care about a Bigfoot film? Why deny records exist? These questions lead to 5 possible theories. UFO abductions. Accounts of UFOs in Idaho, such as Washington and Wyoming, plus CWD connections suggest extraterrestrials may abduct humans and animals for study. Strengths include consistent witness testimonies and no traces. Weaknesses are no physical proof and unclear why specific people like Germans or those with chronic illnesses are chosen. Key question: how are returned people's memories erased, and where do the others go? Bigfoot involvement. Though Paulides denies Bigfoot directly causes vanishings, Native Americans believe they're human-like with supreme hiding skills. Bigfoot DNA shows modern human traits with a mysterious male origin. Strengths are Bigfoot sightings in disappearance areas and native testimonies. Weaknesses include no direct evidence linking them to vanishings. Question: if Bigfoot doesn't kill, what role do they play, or are they witnesses to a greater force serial killer? A killer in the woods could explain sudden vanishings. But no blood tracks or screams, especially with armed victims like Aaron, weakens this. Question: how could a killer operate without leaving any trace? Even with dogs, portals. Dr. John Brandenburg suggests portals could pull people into another dimension. Dale Stallings cries, but absence fit this. Strengths include explaining no traces and reappearances in searched areas. Weaknesses are no scientific proof. Question: who or what controls these portals, and why do they open in specific places? Government conspiracy. NPS's refusal to share data, FBI involvement, and RCMP's classified UFO reports suggest a cover-up. Strengths are NPS, FBI's odd behavior. Weaknesses include no concrete conspiracy proof. Question: what are they hiding, and why care about UFOs or Bigfoot personally? After reviewing testimonies and clues, I lean toward UFOs and a government conspiracy. The overlap of vanishings, UFO sightings, and CWD areas isn't random. NPS's silence and FBI's presence suggest they know more than they admit. Why are they protecting us from a terrifying truth or hiding a program involving UFOs or Bigfoot? As investigations stall, the pain of those left behind, like Jared's father Dale's family, and public attention, begin to uncover a deeper secret. Search campaigns. Paulides' books and native stories are pressuring those holding the truth. But will it break their silence? Let's explore the grief of those left behind the media's role and new clues that could change everything. As eerie clues and stalled investigations leave more questions than answers, the story of national park vanishings shifts to a deeper layer, none. The pain of those left behind, the community's unrest, and new clues sparking hope and fear of a greater secret. From Jared Atadero's father, haunted by what took his little boy, to communities living in the shadow of Glacier National Park, these cases aren't just unsolved mysteries. They're unhealed wounds, whispers of an unseen force, perhaps UFOs, Bigfoot, or a vast conspiracy manipulating from the shadows. In this part, we'll explore how families, communities, and media responded to these inexplicable losses while unveiling new clues from chronic wasting disease to Bigfoot DNA that illuminate or darken the mystery. The pain of those left behind is the heart of this story, and no one knows it better than Alan Atadero, Jared's father, whose 3-year-old son vanished on Colorado's Big South Trail in 1999. Alan, a devoted dad, joined Jared on that fateful outing, believing the woods were safe for exploration. But in a moment's lapse, Jared was gone. There's no cry, no trace. Alan told David Paulides, now a friend, that the days after were a nightmare. Hundreds of volunteers, dogs, and helicopters searched, but found nothing. I called his name until my voice gave out, Alan said, worry, choking up. I couldn't understand why no one heard or saw anything. 4 years later, when Jared's skull and bloodless, untorn clothes were found 750 feet up, Alan's pain deepened, didn't it? The clothes' condition and unreachable location led him to ask, who took my son there? And why Alan lives with unrelenting grief, not just for his loss, but for the authorities' silence. He told Paulides, they don't want us to know the truth. But I'll never stop searching. Dale Stallings' family, whose loved one vanished in Mesa Verde, carries a similar wound. Dale, a middle-aged man, planned a short walk to an ancient village, telling his wife, I'll be back soon. He never returned. His family with NPS launched a massive search. When a reporter heard Dale's cries for help, followed by another ranger reporting the same, they clung to hope he was alive. But hope faded when searchers found nothing. Years later, when Dale's body appeared under a tree in the same searched area, his family was shocked and confused. How could he be there? His wife asked, tears streaming. We passed that spot so many times. How did we miss him? Dale's sudden reappearance, unexplained, left them with a wound that won't heal. Communities near national parks are deeply affected. In Montana, where Glacier recorded 68 vanishings from 1896 to 2014, locals live in quiet fear. Hunters once at home in the woods now carry personal locator beacons, PLBs, and guns, as Paulides advises. I used to think the forest was my home, a crazy mountains hunter told Paulides. After Aaron Hedges, I'm not sure. Something's out there, and it's not bears or wolves. In the Grand Canyon, Morgenheimer's 2015 vanishing left his tour group in shock. A member said, "We were steps away. How could he just disappear?" This fear has spread, deterring people from parks or prompting them to avoid going alone. Search efforts like those for Aaron and Jared drew hundreds of volunteers, showing community unity, but also their helplessness without answers. Media has been key in bringing these mysteries to light, with Paulides leading the charge. His 11 Missing 411 books, documentaries like Missing 411, The UFO Connection, and the Hunted and Can-Am Missing Project YouTube channel have stirred American curiosity. Over 50 appearances on Coast to Coast AM shared chilling tales from Aaron's boots to Idaho UFOs. The History Channel's vanished, focusing on Dale Stallings, drew millions, sparking UFO and Bigfoot debates. MUFON conferences where Paulides speaks attract hundreds from curious folks to UFO researchers. But media also stirs controversy. Some accuse Paulides of sensationalizing. We don't make up stories he counters, we present facts and let people decide. Love or hate him. Paulides has reshaped how Americans view national parks, from paradises to mysterious mazes. The long-term impact goes beyond personal pain. In Colorado, Paulides and a professor pushed a bill pending in Congress to force NPS to publish missing persons lists with details. If big police departments list missing people, why not NPS? Paulides asks. If passed, it could demand transparency, but will it reveal the truth? These cases have heightened public fear of forest safety. Paulides urges carrying PLB's guns and survival items like emergency blankets, mirrors, and whistles. He even suggests a quirky but effective tip dryer lint, which ignites easily and could save your life. These practical tips reflect a grim reality: national parks aren't as safe as we thought. But amid the pain and fear, new clues emerge, illuminating or complicating the mystery. Chronic wasting disease. CWD, a prion disease ravaging deer, elk, and moose in 22 U.S. states, appears in many vanishing areas like Crazy Mountains in Washington. Are UFOs, as the Wyoming hunter claimed sampling animals and humans to study CWD? His testimony, seeing UFOs take elk, supports this. They said they take deer and elk regularly, he told Paulides. Then they go to the ocean for other things. If UFOs are studying CWD, are humans part of the experiment? Another clue is Bigfoot DNA analyzed by Dr. Melba Ketchum. She concluded Bigfoot is a modern human with an untraceable male origin. This isn't angel or alien DNA, she said, debunking rumors. They're human, but very different. This, with Yurok beliefs that Bigfoot is from the stars, suggests a deeper Bigfoot UFO link. Are Bigfoot witnesses or victims of UFO abductions? Paulides, though denying Bigfoot directly causes vanishings, doesn't rule out their knowledge of something we don't. Dr. John Brandenburg's portal theory adds another layer. He believes portals, rifts in space-time, could pull people into another dimension. Dale Stallings cries, but absence fit this. Maybe he saw us, but we couldn't see him. Brandenburg told Paulides he was in another dimension. This explains traceless vanishings and reappearances in the searched areas. But who or what controls these portals? And why do they open in places like Glacier or Mesa Verde? The government conspiracy theory grows stronger. NPS's $1.4 million demand for a missing persons list feels like a challenge. FBI's involvement in cases like Patterson-Gimlin and RCMP's classified UFO reports in Canada add suspicion. Paulides heard from an NPS employee ordered not to report a Bigfoot sighting. Don't write about it, they were told. Why are NPS and FBI protecting us from a terrifying truth, or hiding a program involving UFOs or Bigfoot? I can't shake the feeling their silence isn't accidental. A greater force is at play, and those with the keys don't want us opening that door. These new clues, CWD, Bigfoot DNA portals, and government cover-ups, don't just shed light. They raise new questions. With all the efforts, tears, and buried secrets we reach, the final question: will the truth ever be revealed? Or will these forests forever hold their secrets? Let's sum up what we know, what we don't, and what might be waiting in the shadows. After all, the eerie clues, stalled investigations, and unending pain of those left behind, we reach the end of the story about mysterious vanishings in North America's national parks. From Aaron Hedges' boots alone in thick Montana snow, to Jared Atadero's bloodless clothes on a Colorado cliff, and Dale Stallings' desperate cries in Mesa Verde. These mysteries don't just defy logic, they tap into our deepest fear, the unknown. Are UFOs Bigfoot portals or a vast conspiracy behind these disappearances? And why, after decades, does the truth remain hidden in the forest's shadows? In this final part, we'll sum up what we know, reflect on unanswered questions, and issue a call to join the search for truth, because somewhere out there, the answers may be waiting. Let's revisit those who vanished without a trace. Aaron Hedges, a seasoned hunter, disappeared in a blizzard in the Crazy Mountains on September 7, 2014, leaving boots, a water bladder, and filter by a campfire, but no footprints in 18 inches of snow. Jared Atadero, a 3-year-old with an innocent smile, vanished on Colorado's Big South Trail in 1999. His skull and bloodless clothes found 4 years later, 750 feet up. Morgan Heimer, a 22-year-old guide, disappeared in broad daylight in the Grand Canyon in 2015 steps from 30 people with no sound or trace. Dale Stalling, walking a short path in Mesa Verde, was heard crying for help but wasn't found until his body appeared in a searched area years later. These cases, among thousands in Paulides' missing 411, share one trait: they defy the rules of our world. No screams, no tracks, no sense for dogs to follow. It's as if these people were erased from reality. The clues, or lack thereof, deepen the mystery. Neatly folded clothes, abandoned shoes, bodies in searched areas, and the eerie silence of the forest before vanishings. Witness accounts from Idaho hunters seeing a massive UFO to Washington workers watching an elk lifted skyward suggest a supernatural force. The Wyoming hunter's tale, abducted by a UFO seeing frozen elk, his tuberculosis scars healed, is haunting. His bullet falling after hitting an invisible barrier was confirmed by Wyoming criminalistics to have struck something never seen. These details, though hard to believe, can't be fully dismissed, especially when they recur across hundreds of cases. Investigations, from Paulides' efforts to NPS searches, hit dead ends. NPS's refusal to provide a missing persons list, demanding $1.4 million to compile one, feels like a dare. The FBI's involvement in cases like Patterson-Gimlin and their denials, despite Paulides' 60-plus FOIA requests, add suspicion. In Canada, RCMP treat UFO reports with alarming seriousness, sending classified reports to Ottawa, while U.S. Rangers are told not to document UFO or Bigfoot sightings. This cover-up isn't just a barrier, it's a sign something bigger is hidden. Paulides, with his cop background, believes the truth is buried, and he's not alone. Families like Alan Atadero and Dale Stallings live in pain and frustration, feeling authorities don't want them to know. But in the darkness, new clues emerge, illuminating or complicating the mystery. Chronic wasting disease. CWD, ravaging deer, elk, and moose in 22 states, appears in many vanishing areas like Crazy Mountains in Washington. Are UFOs, as the Wyoming hunter suggested, sampling animals and humans to study CWD? Bigfoot DNA, per Dr. Melba Ketchum, shows they're modern humans with an untraceable male origin, raising questions about a Bigfoot UFO link. The Yurok believe Bigfoot is from the stars, a distinct tribe with language and culture. Dr. John Brandenburg's portal theory explains why victims like Dale could cry out but not be found, or why bodies appear in searched areas. These clues paint a larger picture. National parks aren't just nature, they're crossroads of phenomena beyond our grasp. The impact of these vanishings extends beyond families. They've changed how we view national parks, from paradises to mysterious mazes. Paulides' bill, pending in Congress, could force NPS to publish missing persons lists. If passed, will it reveal the truth? Public fear of forest safety has surged, with many carrying PLB's guns and survival gear, per Paulides' advice. UFO and Bigfoot tales, once dismissed, are now debated at MUFON conferences and on Coast to Coast AM. In communities near Glacier Yosemite and the Grand Canyon, a quiet unease lingers. Is it safe to enter the woods? Personally, after reviewing clues, testimonies, and cover-ups, I feel we're facing a secret beyond our understanding. The UFO theory, with accounts of elk abductions and memory-erased returnees, is most compelling. But NPS's silence and FBI's presence suggest a deeper conspiracy. Perhaps the government is hiding UFOs or a Bigfoot program. The German victims, those with chronic illnesses in CWD areas, aren't random. There's a pattern, a meaning we can't yet grasp. What haunts me most is the thought that Aaron, Jared, Morgan, and Dale might still be out there in a UFO, another dimension, or under some unseen force's watch. The truth, whatever it is buried, and these forests hold it tight. Unanswered questions echo. Who or what is behind these vanishings? Why does NPS withhold data, and what is the FBI hiding as Bigfoot? A witness victim, or part of the mystery, enigma? Most crucially, is there hope of finding those lost, or are they in a place we'll never reach? These questions aren't just for Paulides or the families. They're for all of us, those curious, unwilling to accept silence. Perhaps the truth is out there, waiting for someone brave enough to find it. So what do you think are UFOs abducting people in the deep woods? Does Bigfoot know something we don't? Or is this a government conspiracy hiding a truth too terrifying to reveal? Share your thoughts in the comments. What theory do you believe, and why? If you've heard of a strange vanishing or had an experience in a national park, tell us. Together, we might shed light on this mystery. And who knows, the answer could be closer than we think.